In this study, we will delve into the extraordinary journey of the chosen ones, tracing their journey from their very first breath to the moment they realize their divine purpose. This narrative will reveal how each of us may be destined for a unique mission, and how this is reflected in our daily lives. Are you ready to uncover how your personal story is intertwined with a grander purpose, and how this understanding can radically change the way you perceive the world? Then let's continue on this journey to explore how this truth may resonate with your own experience of life. Share your thoughts and feelings in the comments to help us further understand this topic. From your very first breath, an unseen force has already begun its work. You have been chosen for something much greater than may first appear. Regardless of the circumstances of your birth or where you first came into this world, the fact remains the same. Your existence has a divine purpose, conceived long before you first opened your eyes to this reality. While many believe that life begins at birth, the chosen ones know that the spiritual journey begins long before then. Your soul has undergone extensive preparation to be exactly here and now, experiencing exactly what you are experiencing at this moment. Everything in our lives, from birth to every word spoken, is part of a design that surpasses our understanding. Each person, when they come into the world, already has their own unique purpose, chosen from above. This truth often goes unnoticed, although the chosen ones always feel some specialness of their destiny. An unquenchable flame burns within them, causing them to feel that their lives are filled with a deeper meaning. With their first breath, they carry a certain spiritual imprint that cannot simply be ignored. This inner call causes them to question, find their way, and feel differently, even if those around them don't understand them. This realization may not come immediately, but all events that happen to a person are a preparation for something greater. From birth, some higher power guides everyone's steps, protecting and preparing them for the moment when they finally realize their true mission. And that moment approaches with each new breath connected with a higher purpose. Perhaps the vocation is inherent in man even before he is born, and he is chosen for a life beyond the ordinary. Each contraction of the heart muscle inexorably brings man closer to his higher, divine mission. It is no coincidence that it is at this very moment that these words come to him. His inner world, his spirit, recognizes unmistakably that this message is addressed to his very essence. However, it must be recognized that the path of the chosen ones is never lined with roses, and it is necessary to realize that from the moment of the first breath, the earthly path of man has already been marked by trials, which are in no way a punishment, but are ways of hardening, a kind of preparation for the coming achievements. Each obstacle, each moment when he felt himself lost, was an integral part of the grandiose plan. The adversities he encountered along life's journey were like gems that polished his soul, making it stronger, wiser, and closer to the purpose for which he was born. He has been called, and that call has resounded since his birth. And now comes the moment when he begins to remember his true purpose, the power that has always lurked within him. And this is just the starting point of his journey. From a very young age, he felt he was different. It was a feeling that had haunted him since childhood. While other children frolicked carefree, he had an extraordinary sensitivity. He saw the world from a different angle, with a depth of thought and feeling that sometimes alienated him from his peers. This cannot be called a mere coincidence. The elect from a very early age were marked by a kind of spiritual influence. Think of those moments of solitude when you felt as if those around you were unable to understand you. This was because, without even realizing it, you were already attuned to the vibrations of a higher energy. You may not have been able to put it into words at that moment, but your inner self already felt that the destiny was special. This feeling of not belonging to the environment, of seeking answers that others don't care about, was the first sign, the inner call. The chosen, from childhood, have a connection to that which is unseen. While others followed the beaten paths of life, they were characterized by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge beyond the ordinary. They spent long hours in silence, observing the world around them, pondering unanswered questions. And in these moments they were not alone, even if they could not realize it. A spiritual presence accompanied them, guiding and protecting them, preparing their souls for the trials to come. Perhaps there are memories of situations where an invisible force was felt that guided them, protecting them from danger or leading them down unexpected paths. Nothing was random. Every event, every person encountered on their life's journey was part of their spiritual preparation. The impression was that the universe itself was purposefully preparing the individual to fulfill some significant mission, the essence of which remained vague in childhood, but gradually began to manifest itself. Many of those who are considered to be chosen talk about childhood experiences that are difficult to explain rationally, and about the premonition of coming changes. These subtle manifestations, typical of the chosen, indicate that their souls have been attuned from the beginning to the perception of the divine. It did not matter whether they found the support of others or preferred to keep their experiences secret. All of these moments were an integral part of their spiritual awakening. These experiences were a call from the universe to realize their true nature. Perhaps they were trying to conform to conventional norms, but something inside them was constantly resisting it. This is the fate of the chosen ones, not to follow the beaten path, but to pave their own, unique way. And these signs, manifested from an early age, clearly pointed to their exceptional destiny. From childhood, the chosen are under the protection of the higher powers. Probably not all the details come to mind at once, but upon deeper reflection, everyone is able to find moments in their lives when something inexplicable came to their aid and protection. It could be when a fall was miraculously avoided, when someone appeared unexpectedly to comfort in a difficult moment, or that inexplicable sense of calm in the midst of raging chaos. Such events can be regarded as signs of the presence of higher powers, which accompanied a person from childhood, gradually shaping his life path and preparing him for a certain mission. Looking back, it becomes obvious that all these seemingly insignificant incidents were an integral part of spiritual formation. Without even realizing it, one was being prepared from an early age for the special role he or she was to play. Every experience, whether it was a feeling of loneliness or agonizing unanswered questions, was all part of something greater, some divine mission that began to take shape long before the realization of one's chosenness. For many, this burden of responsibility and purpose comes in adolescence, a time when life is already so full of questions, change, and, of course, confusion. The sense of one's otherness, which was barely perceptible in childhood, becomes a reality that can no longer be ignored. The inner confrontation, which is an integral part of human existence, is experienced by some people with particular acuity. From a young age, these chosen souls feel like outsiders among their peers. While most adolescents look to the future with confidence, they are faced with agonizing doubts and questions that seem to have no answers. This creates a sense of uncertainty, but at the same time, somewhere in the back of their minds, they realize that these torments are a reflection of a spiritual call not yet fully realized. This is the burden of the chosen ones. They have an underlying sense that their life path will be different from the fate of others. While their fellows are preoccupied with superficial matters, they are immersed in deep reflections on the meaning of existence, their purpose, and the reasons for their seemingly detached journey. Society's imposed expectations clash with their inner feelings. A constant struggle takes place between trying to conform to social norms and an invisible force pushing them in the opposite direction. They realize that this is a kind of training designed to make them seek answers to troubling questions. The chosen ones go through intense trials during adolescence, for it is during this period that their spiritual awakening begins to gain momentum. Many doubts and a storm of emotions are the constant companions of the chosen souls. Not infrequently, these special individuals are faced with a heavy sense of loneliness, a feeling of isolation from the world, and even their own inadequacy. This is by no means an accident, but a natural stage on the path of spiritual development. inner torment, like a crucible, purifies the soul, preparing it for reunion with the divine purpose. However, as if this were not enough, the chosen ones, battling their inner demons, often find themselves drawn to external trials as well. The path of life becomes more confusing, situations become more complicated, and relationships with others become a series of difficulties. This is characteristic of those who are called to a great mission. The trials that arise at an early age can be compared to examinations that prepare for future responsibilities. The universe, like a wise mentor, never imposes an unbearable burden, but it is not easy to realize this at the moment of difficulty. The burden of realizing one's uniqueness, of knowing the great potential lurking within, can seem overwhelming. It is likely that in that period of time, it may have felt as if all avenues were closed, or that circumstances were not as smooth as those around you. However, this impression that the whole world had turned against you was actually an omen that fate had something special in store for you. You were not destined to follow the beaten path, living a mediocre life, a truth that is not easy to accept, especially when still searching for yourself. While your peers were enjoying carefree fun and partying, you were plagued by inner turmoil. You may have even tried to force yourself to blend in, to act like everyone else. But in the back of your mind, there was always a quiet voice saying, "This isn't your thing." And the more you tried to drown it out, the more insistent it became, reminding you that your mission is different. This inner struggle, characteristic of the chosen ones in adolescence, is characterized by a special intensity, but it has a purpose. Every moment of inner contradiction, every tear shed, are integral elements of a larger process. The universe has been painstakingly shaping you, preparing you for what is to come. The feeling of being lost, like being lost in a labyrinth, was actually a fine-tuning of the soul to the true path that was destined. Even if at that moment the realization slipped away, the inner pressure was building up, pushing one to accept one's true nature, chosenness. Attempts to escape from this truth were futile. It pursued relentlessly, and this painful but necessary phase prepared the ground for the acceptance of one's true self. The transition to adulthood becomes a turning point for a select few. After the teenage years, full of doubts and internal contradictions, there comes a time when the disparate fragments of life begin to build up into a coherent picture. What previously seemed like chaos and uncertainty acquires a deep meaning. A person begins to realize that the ordeal had a much greater meaning than it was supposed to have. This awakening, like a flash of lightning, dispels the darkness. Suddenly, everything becomes crystal clear. It is not just the life path that has shaped the personality, but a certain spiritual presence that has accompanied from the beginning. At a turning point in life, many people whom fate has marked with a special sign begin to feel an inner call, calling them to accomplishments beyond the ordinary. Perhaps each of them has already noticed these changes. The quiet inner voice, previously barely audible, now sounds insistent, demanding urgent attention. It becomes increasingly difficult to ignore these urges. The spirit is awakening, and with it comes a profound realization. What once seemed like a meaningless pastime suddenly becomes meaningful. Every obstacle, every test passed, is now seen as a necessary preparation for the accomplishments to come. Spiritual awakening in adulthood is characterized by the acquisition of clarity. The doubts that plagued the mind in youth gradually dissipate, giving way to understanding. However, for many select few, the onset of adulthood brings with it additional burdens. Daily responsibilities, societal expectations, and even family ties can become a source of tension. There is a sense of being pulled in different directions, as if the world is trying to keep them within a familiar routine. But there is a kind of resistance maturing inside. They feel that they are not meant to live by conventional rules, and this creates a constant conflict between the demands of society and the aspirations of their souls. For a certain category of people, maturity becomes the stage when their spiritual purpose begins to manifest itself more clearly. Perhaps they feel an irresistible urge to search for deeper truths, meanings, and purposes. as if their inner compass points to something greater. This unquenchable thirst for knowledge is part and parcel of their special calling. They are not meant to simply float along in the current of ordinary life. Their destiny is far grander. It is in this awakening, as they begin to realize their true nature, that they begin to make a connection with the true laws of the universe. As they reach adulthood, many of these chosen people begin to have more intense spiritual experiences. Perhaps they have vivid and memorable dreams, receive repeated signs as if the universe is trying to tell them something, or meet people who magically appear in their lives just when they need them most. These events are not just random coincidences, they are reminders from the universe, urging them to accept their true nature and follow the path that was predestined for them from the beginning. However, with awakening comes great responsibility. Now they can no longer ignore their true nature. Life will undoubtedly continue to throw them distractions, difficulties, and even temptations in an attempt to throw them off the path, but their spirit has already awakened and realized its truth. The more a person seeks to escape the call of fate, the more persistent they become. The awakening of consciousness is like passing into another dimension from which there is no turning back. From that moment, it is impossible to continue living in ignorance, as if with closed eyes. Every step of an individual is closely watched, guided, and protected by a higher power, which becomes a reliable support in the process of accepting one's special role. Entry into adulthood inevitably brings with it the need to make informed choices. While the world around us is consumed by the fleeting illusions of modern existence, it is up to the chosen ones to look within, to notice what is hidden from the majority. This involves the ability to live in clarity, but also in some solitude. As one progresses along one's unique path, one becomes increasingly aware that one is moving away from those who previously made up one's inner circle. However, this is not a sign of loneliness. Rather, it is an indication that he is rising to a higher spiritual level that is accessible to only a few. The process of awakening may cause fear, but at the same time, it brings liberation. The realization of one's true nature leads to the breaking of the ties that bind one to the past. One realizes that one's purpose is not to please everyone, but to realize one's unique mission. Along with this realization comes an unshakable sense of inner peace that cannot be taken away. This peace does not depend on what trials may await in the future, for there is the certainty that every step is guided by a higher power. From the very first breath, each person's life is already predetermined, and now, more than ever, they are moving toward their unique, divine purpose. The moment comes for Isra, whose destiny begins to manifest with clarity and undeniability. After years of painstaking preparation, inner conflict, and spiritual awakening, comes the realization that life is part of a grand design that surpasses ordinary understanding. Now the question is not only who he is, but what is the purpose of his existence? The responsibility that rests on his shoulders is enormous, but at the same time, it is liberating. He has been chosen for a special mission, and now it is time to act. Perhaps up to this point, life has seemed like a series of trials and difficulties, but now everything makes sense. Every obstacle overcome, every disappointment, and every tear were nothing but divine tools that shaped him for this decisive moment. An undeniable fact worth deeply realizing: no one was ever alone. A higher power was invariably present in everyone's life, guiding the way, even if it went unnoticed. Each person's destiny is not the result of blind chance, but a divine design that has always lived deep within, waiting for its time to manifest itself in all its glory. Now that this realization has come, the next step is to accept one's unique role, predestined from above. Chosenness is not just an honorary title, it is a serious responsibility that requires active action. The world is in dire need of everyone's light, wisdom, and talents, for they are an integral part of the great divine plan. And here is a key point that many of the chosen ones cannot grasp for a long time. Their destiny is not only a matter for the future, it is already being realized in the present moment. Every action, even the smallest, contributes to the realization of this grand plan. That is why the call to action is now more important than ever. Now is the time to break free of outdated habits, outmoded relationships, and even limiting beliefs. The chosen one is destined not to be attached to anything that does not contribute to his spiritual growth. The path ahead, while clear, requires courage and determination. This courage manifests itself in the ability to be different from others, to go against conventional norms, and not to fear judgment from those who do not understand the depth of the ordeal. The chosen one is not meant to please everyone. His or her true purpose is to serve a higher purpose, and that is of paramount importance. Often the elect have the burden of being a role model, which can cause feelings of depression. However, it is important to remember that divine providence is not random. The elect are given the necessary strength and talents to fulfill their mission. Moments of doubt about one's own abilities are only part of the journey. Every chosen one goes through periods of uncertainty, and it is at such times that faith must be unwavering. When it seems that strength is running out, one must remember the divine power that has always been inside, waiting to manifest itself. It is then that the destiny begins to influence not only the life of the chosen one, but also the destinies of others. At this point, it becomes obvious that presence, words, and actions have a much deeper impact than previously imagined. Sometimes, without realizing the reasons for what is happening, a person may feel that his inner light becomes brighter. This serves as a sign indicating his special purpose, to be a beacon for those who have gone astray, to lead them to spiritual truth. In this way, he realizes the design that has been destined for him since his birth. However, being chosen does not guarantee an easy life. On the contrary, the closer a person comes to the fulfillment of his mission, the more obstacles, trials, and changes stand in his way. It is important to remember that difficulties only confirm the correctness of the chosen direction. Each obstacle he faces is an opportunity for self-improvement, a chance to prove to himself and the world his readiness to follow his destiny. Each small victory brings him closer to the full realization of his divine purpose. The time of indecision is behind him. The moment has come for confident action, knowing that the universe is favoring his success. Everything he needs to fulfill the mission is already within him. The talents he has acquired, the experiences he has had, and the wisdom he has accumulated are the tools that will help him achieve his goal. From now on, every step you take is an advancement towards the realization of your predetermined plan. Now that you have realized the significance of your destiny, do not lose sight of this truth. You have been chosen, and the world needs your light. It is time to act. Use this moment to reflect on the path you have traveled and how it has prepared you to fulfill your mission. Share in the comments your experiences of insight and what corner of the world you are watching this video from. Stories about you always generate genuine interest. And of course, if this message resonates with you, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new content like this one. Your journey is just beginning, and the narrator is ready to accompany you every step of the way. Let us evolve together. May divine grace always accompany you, and see you in the next video.